Rev up your engines! Now, if you're worried about crashing your motorcycle, you might want to put a crash bar on. In my case, I bought this used and it's got pre-crash stuff already on it and dumped a few times. I polished some of it up, but hey, thing weighs a ton. It's a stinker getting over it. So I'm going to show you how you can bolt on these things. It's a simple bolt-on operation. Now, crash bars aren't created equal. I did a lot of research and got these Garza ones that are custom made for this bike. Now, they say they're just bolt-on. Hopefully they're telling the truth. The first thing you got to realize is you want solid metal ones like this that are solid built. This motorcycle weighs a lot, 600 something pounds, and that's without me on it. So you want to get good ones. So if something happens, it won't destroy all this stuff. Fairings cost a fortune too. The first thing you got to do is take the fairing off so you can start bolting stuff on. So you get the little 4mm Allen. That's the problem with faired motorcycles. You got to take all this crap off when you work on it. And there's a lot you got to take off. One on the bottom here too. They're all over the place. We got to get it so we can get the whole thing apart. And don't forget the ones behind the wheel. You got to turn the wheel to the side to get them off. A lot of screws got to come off. Now you don't have to get it all off. As long as you got enough room to work on here, you can start bolting the brackets and the one side on. Get this off. These two bolts come off, and you can hook up this bracket. The bracket's going to go in there. Now, you don't use these bolts. These will come with a kit and a spacer, because you need a spacer to go in there, so it fits right. Then we go on the bottom. There's another one down here. We'll take that one off, too. And don't worry, everything stays in place as long as you do one side at a time. Hey, now it's easier to work on. We got the stupid piece to come out of its hole. Now, it's much easier to work on. You can see better, too. This bracket goes on here. What we do is, you get the new one, goes in the bottom hole, spacer goes here. You get the other new one, put that in. Again, the spacer goes on the inside because it's got to take up that little gap. Then you just screw it back together. Get a socket, this is a 19mm. You just screw it in. This is the bracket it's going to bolt into. This will stick out through the hole in the fairing when we're done. That's why you got to take the fairing off. You can't work through it. And the advantage of this system is you don't have to cut any holes in the fairing. Who wants to cut holes in that? It's a pain in the butt. It would look ugly. This is a bolt-on kit, and that's what you want. Now we have this nice and tight. Now I got to put the fairing back on. We get it on. That will poke out of the hole where the crash bar goes on. Then, of course, you go to the other side. I've done the other side. And you do the same thing. You bolt the bracket here so when the fairing's on, you got the nice bracket hole here. Crash bar will screw it on here. It'll be over and we don't have to drill any holes in the fairing. That's why it's important that you get the crash bars that are made for your exact vehicle. This particular one was made in Russia. Now, it's only for these years, like 2001 to 2005. This is 2005 to 2006 up. Use a different one. They make that one too, but make sure you order the right one for your vehicle. Now, as you can see, we bolted it all on. All the bolts the kit came with. And now we got a nice crash bar, so we won't smash all this up. And in case you park in the dirt and it falls over, instead of crushing this, it'll just hit this and you can pull it back up again. It also makes it a very easy thing to grab if you got to get a couple of guys to flip it over if it falls off. It's solid, was built for the vehicle, and the other side's the same, solid as can be. Now, this isn't done yet. I got to bolt all this back together, which is always a pain in the butt. Sometimes it makes me think you'd be better off with a naked bike and not have to mess with all this nonsense. But, hey, be a lot safer now with these little crash bars on it. So here we go. Nice crash bar. Everything's bolted back in place. This is solid as can be. It'll be a lot safer that way, too. What's the moral of the story? You can do a lot of stuff yourself. Bolt on, bolt off. Just a little patience, yeah. Putting all the stupid plastic fairings on and off is a pain in the butt, but, you know, I gotta admit, I'm getting old. You get on the road, you got a windshield, you got all that fairing, you don't have a bunch of crap blowing in your face. It's a lot more fun driving a motorcycle that way, and just in case, if the bell tolls for you and decides to do a little crash, you'll be ready for it. Your own bolt-on crash bars for a nice bike that you can easily do it yourself with a little help from Amazon. I gotta say, I love Amazon. I get packages coming every day. People send me stuff. I buy stuff. No longer searching. When I had motorcycles when I was a kid, I had to search all over for parts. You couldn't get them. You couldn't find them. They charged too much here. Go on Amazon. They got just about everything you'd possibly need, including installation videos. although I couldn't find any for this particular vehicle. Actions left much to be desired. Well, you know when it says take off the fairing from a right side instead of from the right side, you know it's not going to be much directions. The pictures helped a tiny bit, but now, hey, you got one of these, you can watch my video. See how it's done right. And now that I've stuck my son's 101st Airborne sticker on it and realized that most of the damage is under here, you can't even see it now. You look at that, so I don't even have to repaint the damage that the previous owner did. And remember, there's a lot of motorcycles, electric bicycles, scooters out there, so pay a little attention. Hey, the life you save might be mine. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Neferati says, will private car ownership be replaced by public autonomous vehicles? Probably not for quite some time, if ever. In the United States, we go all over the place all the time. Public transportation goes to certain places some of the time. Americans, as it stands, would not stand for that. They want to be able to go wherever they want, whenever they want, however they want. They don't want to be on some bus that goes here and then they got to get another one and go over there and they get another one that goes over there. The United States is not a bus-oriented society. Now, places like England, they've been riding buses for ages. But they still own an awful lot of cars in England, too. It's not like they don't. I laughed when I went to London one time. Everybody says, hey, we live in London. We don't need a car. No one has a car in London. And I get to London. There's cars everywhere. Parked all over the place. Parking ramps everywhere. So this BS that nobody in London has a car is a bunch of crap because they sell cars everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And they're the ones that are supposed to not even be using cars, right? A public scene in the United States, maybe we can get some of the stuff better, like between big cities, you take a train or bus or whatever, and then rent a car for your little trips all over the place. That could be more of a possibility. But even then, there's hundreds of millions of us. You know how much money it would cost to make a train system and a public transportation system? And we know how the government screws everything up. So they'd have the buses going to the places where nobody goes to. I used to watch the light rail in Houston, and it went between two places where nobody were. And you see these things going all the time, and there's nobody in them. Cute little beepy horns, little electric trains, right? But hardly anyone was around the things all the time because they only went to a certain place, and most of it, there weren't any people there in the first place. It's a showcase for downtown. Ooh, the mayor's got a showcase. Look at our cute little trains. The main thing the trains did was they ran into cars because it's light rail, meaning they have to stop at the stoplights. A lot of times they didn't stop and they'd run into cars and create a mess there. So I don't think it's going to be anytime soon that we're going to all be riding around buses and public transportation in this country. To begin with, who's going to build it? How are you make it big enough? And how are you going to get Americans out of their cars when they like going any place, whenever they can, wherever they can, without having to wait in line and then take 5 transfers and find out that they're still a mile from where they want to go? Doesn't cut the mustard in this country. Angel 99 says, is a high mileage Impel for $7,000 a good deal? It's a 2013 Impel, 154,000 miles, sunroof, cracked windshield, and a few scuff marks. They're selling for $7,000. It's a good deal. Can I get it for less with a little negotiating? Way too much money, especially since it's got scratches and stuff. But here's the thing. Don't buy one regardless. They're piles of junk. The Impelas are terrible cars. Back in the day, when I was a kid, in the 60s, Impelas were big cars with V8s that could run a long time. Everyone loved them, right? And in the 60s, classic Impelas, people loved them. The new ones, and that's 2013, are junk. It's probably on its last leg. 154,000 miles, I can guarantee you the engine and transmission are on their way out. Don't buy it at any cost. I wouldn't even give $1,000 for that car. Let me tell you, don't buy it or you'll regret it. They are endless money pits with that kind of mileage on it. Don't even think it. They're looking for a sucker for that one. That is a terrible car. Do not buy it at any price. Especially not that high price. Went on to Scotty, did you watch the news about Tesla catching on fire? Yeah, you know, those big giant batteries can start on fire. Lithium burns at a really high temperature too. There's a few of those have started on fire. But even better, watch the YouTube video. Exploding electric motorcycles and bicycles in China. Like 10,000 of them have started on fire in China. And they're so cool because you see them, a lot of it's security cameras and you see a line of them. And one goes poof when the flames come out. Then they all blow up in a row. Poof, poof, poof. All the batteries start on fire. That's the problem with lithium-ion batteries. They have a tendency of overheating and starting on fire. And lithium burns at a real high temperature. So it's very hard to put those things out. I mean, if you're ever near one or on one that started on fire, here's what you do. You run away. Don't try to save your vehicle. Save yourself because you'll burn up with it. You see electric vehicles start, run away, at least far enough away so you can look at it, maybe make videos, make some money on YouTube, post it. Look at the exploding Teslas. People will watch it. But the one that the guy made in China, that's phenomenal. phenomenal. Just blowing up all over the place. The electric motorcycles and the electric bicycles in China. It's over 10,000 of them started on fire. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.